This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome, everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio on our new station in Seattle, Talk Radio 570 KVI. We're on our flagship station over here at Talk Radio KABC and iHeartRadio. FM News 101 KXL, Portland, Oregon, and AM 1370 The Cast, Astoria, Oregon. Welcome, everybody, to KLEAN Radio, a show about addiction and recovery and hope and confusion, Andrew, sometimes.
And all that comes in between.
Yeah, and all that comes in between, because it is very confusing, you know. I posted, first of all, welcome back from Dublin or Ireland or wherever you were.
I was in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Scotland, 6 of 1.
Really? Yeah, I think there's been a few wars over that.
Yes.
Be careful.
We don't want to start that. And welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I just got off the plane, so yeah.
That's commitment.
Yeah, 17 hours. I'm back.
And I don't feel bad. But anyways, I want to welcome everybody out there listening that's new tonight. We have an amazing show tonight. We have an amazing, guest, celebrity. She's sober. She was in most of them.
I would have to say she's an icon at this point.
She is an icon. Right. And and we're not going to let her talk yet. Let's just talk.
Let's just talk about
and just talk about what type of influence she had on all our lives.
Okay, let's do that.
Because if you were growing up in the 70s and the 80s, she was on in your living room every week.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably had a crush on her. Andrew's saying yes, he did. You're not gonna deny it. I just want to tell something funny. Andrew knows nothing of the celebrity world in many ways. You don't read the rags, but you caught the rag attention of when our guest tonight actually got in trouble in 2008, and you remember that story. I've never remembered you remembering any other story but that one.
Really? You don't remember me remembering anything?
Of significance of somebody getting arrested. It's never been important to you, but you obviously have a...
I remember when you got arrested.
Yes, and that hasn't happened yet. But anyways, let's welcome our awesomely talented icon from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. And tomorrow. Mackenzie Phillips, welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
And
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of KLEAN Radio anyway. So when I found out I was going to be on, I was like, yay, I get to meet you guys.
That's how you know when you're a celebrity. Everybody else, if they could be on, she found out she was going to be on. And it's an honor.
Thank you.
And so, I posted on Facebook today, and I want to give this out. Go to KLEAN Radio, go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio, and I asked this question. I asked, what can I ask of Mackenzie to people out there? And I got a ton of responses. So if you want to go and get your responses out right now, go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio.
That would be your questions, not your responses.
Yes, go to ask what your questions. Yes, we will. We will be. Actually, you're right. We will be asking the questions, and Mackenzie will be giving. This is
one reason why people shouldn't drink excessively in their youth, because
it stunts them. It stunts
dyslexic.
Them. And
it can be really damaging.
So welcome to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call. The number here is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with the awesomely talented Mackenzie Phillips. Welcome, and thank you again.
My pleasure.
One of the first things I want to ask you, and that one of the Facebook people asked you, is how did you get over? Because a lot of people, I think, know your story, and your story's been very told. And you grew up in the world of celebrity, you grew up in the world of issues,
rock
and roll. And one of the people asked, how did you get over resentments?
Wow,
start with a hard one right away.
How did I get over resentments? Look, you can either decide. It's a decision. It's a choice. You can either decide to live in the negativity of whatever happened in your life, or you can. I was reading the Adult Children of Alcoholics daily reading today, and it basically was talking about that. I can choose to move forward. Like it says, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. You get to a point through, working the program as it's outlined in the book, and then it's not biting your ass anymore. I can actually, and also I did a lot of EMDR, that rapid eye movement.
It's for
therapy.
For trauma.
For trauma. Yeah. Believe me, I'm a trauma survivor, and I did a lot of EMDR, and now it's sort of shifted the way that me being affected by the past lives in my body and in my mind. And so I can go, yeah, that happened to me. But look what's happening now. I have a son who's 26, and when he was 17, he said, Mom, you're always either looking behind you and talking about what was or thinking about what's going to happen, you're never here with me in the moment. He's like, what are we doing right now? And it really kind of snapped my head around that I can either choose to live in resentments of the past, or I can do the work and live happily and usefully whole in the present moment. And I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
No, I think it greatly does, because it's Andrew and I are men, or we want to be.
At least I am.
We are men.
But a lot of times you hear, there are a lot of women that have suffered severe trauma, and it's easy, coming from you and you answering certain questions to women, especially sometimes, is of great
Well, that's
power.
kind of what I'd like to know. I mean, you have this book, High on Arrival, which went to, you said, number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3. Debuted at number 3.
On the New York Times bestseller list.
I cut her by one
Yes.
slide already.
Yeah.
So I endear
See how you
myself to
are?
the guests.
Yeah.
Right. And the Oprah interview, I mean, everybody talked about that forever. I mean, that was...
That was such a defining moment for me, because I think I was very naive about the effect that my story would have and the backlash that would occur as the result of being honest about my past. And, it was really scary. I mean,
a lot of people were saying you were a liar.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you expect that? You didn't expect that at all?
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect people to question my integrity.
Right.
You could have spoken with me first, I would tell you, that people,
Yeah.
Because usually nobody wants, in our society, a lot of times we want honesty, but we don't want too much honesty.
Right.
Well, also people that identify with
Right.
problems don't want to feel the pain, and so they hear something that's truthful from somebody, and they're like, "Oh, that's something you're not really supposed to talk about."
You know what
And
I
so-
say? I say speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Just
Yeah.
speak your truth. Because for me, people were always saying, what is wrong with this woman? Why does she continually crash and burn?
Right.
And that's because I had all this stuff inside me that I had never had the balls. Can I say that on the radio?
Yes.
You did.
Yes. 'Cause
Okay.
it's
You can, yes.
Basketballs, you can
Yes.
say.
I never had the basketballs to I kept giving all these sanitized versions of my psyche,
Right.
and I never really got down to brass tacks, and there's only one life I had to save, and that was my own, and I'm actually able to live a beautiful life now. And
I actually want to ask you a question about that, but you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Mackenzie Phillips. And I just want to thank you again for coming in. The number here is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Let's go to...
Want to take a call already?
yeah,
All
let's
right.
go to Christy in Tacoma, Washington. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Hi,
can, Christy.
Christy.
You're on.
Sorry, I just tried to take you off speaker.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I was on hold. But I actually sent you guys a message this morning via Facebook
Yes.
that I've been trying to get into your centers for actually a couple of months now. And sorry, I'm kind of emotional. I was in the ER this morning.
What happened that you were in the ER?
What's that? Sorry.
What happened?
Why were you in the ER?
From alcohol withdrawals.
You just try to stop on your own?
It's very dangerous to withdraw from alcohol at
Yeah.
I
home.
know.
You don't want to
I
do
know.
that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but I don't have. It's just hard because I don't have any, health insurance or anything to try and figure out what to do. And so I was just curious if you guys had any.
How old are you,
advice.
Christy?
I'm 26.
26, and how long have you been drinking?
It's been really bad, probably the past 5 years or so. And they told me at the hospital that I'm close to liver failure. So it was just kind of scary.
Yeah, that's not something anybody wants to hear.
Yeah, that's totally a rock and a hard place. You can't stop, and if you keep going, you're gonna
Be dead.
Your liver's
You're gonna
gonna
die.
fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so my mom's been trying to help me call a bunch of places, and you guys have been the most responsive.
Nobody's been taking you in, huh? Okay. Do you have? There's a number 888-601-6040. That's our intake line.
I've spoken with intake people.
You spoke with Joe.
And she's done everything, essentially. She
Yeah.
messaged us this morning. She's spoken.
Okay, I just flew back in from
Yeah.
England, so I'm just catching up, Christy. But you know what? I want to get you detox. So you're in Tacoma. We have a facility in Long Beach, Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to go to.
Yeah, so we'll call the 88. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put you on hold with the producer. And I'm gonna give you a call back after the show, and I'm gonna get you in for free. Okay?
Okay.
He's going to do it, too.
Yeah.
He will do that.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much.
So Christy, tonight, just stay on the line.
But I also don't. I also want to tell you a couple warnings. Don't stop drinking
Yeah.
between now and when you come in.
But try and
because-
keep it, like,
Yeah,
lower.
Yeah.
lower, because you could have a seizure and you could die. So just try and just maintain.
How far are you from our facility, by the way?
I'm actually not sure where Long Beach is.
Long Beach is right on the coast with Columbia River and the ocean.
Probably a couple hours.
Right?
Okay,
And she's up past Seattle.
And do you have friends over there? Just because we don't want you to be alone tonight.
Do we need someone
Yeah,
to come
I'm-
pick you
Yeah.
up, or
I'm staying with my mom right now.
Okay.
can your mom bring
Okay.
you to the hospital?
Yeah, like I said, we were at the hospital earlier today.
Is your mom
Okay.
home with you right now?
She is, yeah.
Could she come on the phone for a second? We just want to make sure you're fully okay.
Yeah, I'll tell that because I wasn't sure if she wanted to talk or not. But let me go ask her.
Okay. And yeah.
There she is.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, this is Andrew, and this is Judah, Andrew, and your Mackenzie Phillips is in the studio. And we know Christy's going through an insane situation right now, and Andrew actually offered her a bed in our KLEAN Long Beach facility.
Oh, my God, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so I'm gonna have
What
someone
do you
call you.
want?
Yeah.
And then, are you able to drive her down to Long Beach? It's about 2 hours
Yes.
away.
Oh,
I'd just soon bring her in the morning when all the staff is there.
Okay, that would be
unless
good.
you think it's a real crisis and she needs to go in
Tonight.
tonight.
No, I'm here with her.
And you're
tonight.
watching her tonight?
Yeah, and there's no alcohol here.
Oh, well,
and
Okay,
Wait,
great.
yeah.
Well, she needs to drink enough to stay okay.
I know that's a weird
It
thing
sounds
for...
strange, but if she stops drinking abruptly, she's going to go into detox, and then
Right.
she could have a seizure and
Yes.
die. So
Right.
you need to allow her to drink to feel just comfortable, but not overdo
Okay.
it. Okay.
Okay, I can do that.
And so stay on hold, and anything you need, just don't hesitate
Yeah,
to
we're
call.
going to put you on hold.
Yeah.
We'll get your number. I'll give you a call right after the show, too, just to make arrangements to bring her in.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
so
Okay.
much.
All right. Take care.
Andrew, can you hit the hold?
Yeah, I got it.
You guys
Thanks.
are awesome. You just saved somebody's life.
Andrew
probably.
is. I just want to say this, by the way. If you just tuned in, this is KLEAN Radio. But
I know.
Andrew, one of the reasons Andrew's amazing, and a lot of treatment facilities out there, they do this for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I've never met somebody in my life that actually, if it was up to him, he would just give away every bed for free. And not everybody always, but that's Andrew
I'm
Spansworth.
absolutely moved by what you just did for Christy. That's beautiful.
Well, let's hope that she can help
Yeah, let's
herself
hope
as well,
she.
you know?
Yeah, let's hope she.
That's the ticket. People say, "Oh, rehab didn't work." Well, it's not rehab that didn't work. It's you that didn't use the
rehab
tools.
gives you an opportunity to
Exactly,
get better, and
exactly.
you have to be willing and want
It's a
to
good
do
jump
it.
start.
So,
It's a great jump start, and you get a lot of information. And if you don't, follow that, stay in a treatment center with the footwork, then it's very difficult to have a good outcome.
And I want to explain something to people out there that are listening that don't understand why we said that you should drink still a little bit. And this was, it's very funny. Andrew's more 12-step than he ever wants to admit sometimes, because that's one of the things they talk about in the book.
Yes.
Is that these are things they would do because they would taper people off
that's
themselves.
the only way they knew how to
Right.
detox people in the 50s.
Right.
Well, I mean, let's look at it. Heroin withdrawal is not going to kill you.
Right.
Benzo withdrawal, you can get very, very sick, and you could very
die.
likely
Yeah.
die. And alcohol withdrawal is
It's
a
very easy to
prescription
die.
to die. So yeah.
Yeah, and people don't think it's, they think because it's legal, it's easier to get off of.
That's
It's just
that
serious,
illusion has
serious
to be
situation.
smashed right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems like that. Anytime, I'm really a big believer in medical model to start with, especially at a detox level. And, people need to take these things seriously. You can't, like this idea that you should punish yourself, go cold turkey, suffer through detox, be throwing up and shaking. That doesn't have to happen. We have medications now that stop that, and we're able to detox people very safely. Plus, you should be watched constantly. I mean, when we put people through detox, they're checked every 5 minutes, all throughout the day and night.
Yeah.
So to make sure nothing goes wrong. So it's very important that people get proper treatment.
Yeah, I work at Pasadena Recovery Center, as you guys know, and
Yeah.
we do the same thing. Vitals, check on the person constantly so that they're never really alone. And if there's some people just cannot be alone. Yeah. Some people have to be watched constantly.
And if you're just tuning in, by the way, and you hear this amazing voice on the radio, that is the insanely talented and awesomeness that is Mackenzie Phillips. And you're listening to KLEAN Radio. So one of the things you were talking about before the call was, you had a hard time staying sober and getting sober. And obviously you had a lot of trauma going on beforehand. And Andrew, that's one of the things I like to, a lot of times when people do have a hard time getting sober, there's certain traumas that they didn't deal with.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, there's several different types of addiction, I think, but one of the major categories of addiction are people that have become addicted from self-medicating to cover up some underlying trauma.
Right.
And I think in the vast majority of people, even if that isn't the principal reason, there still is some element of that. I mean, life is traumatic.
Right.
And if you're not coping properly and you're drinking and using, you're not dealing with things every day. Even just things as simple as the mail and bills. I mean, like, how many times do we have people come into treatment and you ask them where's their mail and their bills, and they've got that one drawer.
Yeah, it was in my trunk.
It was your trunk.
It was my trunk in my car.
And it's just like,
It really was.
2 years worth of
It
mail.
was. I had 2 years worth of mail in my trunk, thinking if I didn't open it, it didn't actually come.
Right. If you don't look at it, it
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah,
It's all denial.
That's the same thing. If you don't look at the trauma, that's the problem, is that you think, well, if I just pretend this didn't happen and I pretend I'm fine, I will be fine.
So do you think a lot of your getting sober has to do with that final bit of honesty? That final bit of honesty that you were on Oprah, you wrote the book about certain things of trauma that you dealt with, that finally you were able to say it out loud?
I think that is certainly a huge part of it. I mean, look, I was clean and sober for 10 years before I relapsed, and those were beautiful years of my life. And it would creep up and I'd push it back down, and it would creep up and I'd push it back down. And then, the unthinkable happened, and my father died, and I really thought that I would feel free, that I would be able to walk free from the trauma, when in fact it only exacerbated it.
Yeah, because you had no closure.
I had no closure. I there was I felt like an orphan. I felt completely alone. Who's going to answer my questions? Why,
Right.
And then it took me years to realize that all the answers lie inside of me anyway.
Right.
And that I needed to be able to say these things out loud in order to hear them and make them real, and then, survive them.
So like I was talking about, when you went public in Oprah and you got all this negative feedback, did that re-traumatize you in some ways? I mean, you're such a different, you're not like an average citizen who, has these problems with sexual abuse and whatever, and then deals with it. I mean, you almost created another persona on TV again. You lied for a living sort of as an actress, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden you go on Oprah and people are thinking you're lying on Oprah because you're an actress.
It was
in
so
fact,
shocking
Yeah.
that they would have, like, on these, entertainment magazine shows, I'm not going to say one specifically, they had like a body language expert on to look at the tape of me to see if I was lying.
Wow.
And I'm like, what I'm talking about isn't exactly a resume builder as an actor, and I would like to continue to work in my chosen profession, so why would I make it up?
Right.
That's actually fascinating. Is like, you're right. Why
Right,
would
what
you?
would be the motivation?
What would be the motivation for something like that?
I'm not
other than
that
to
much-
save your life.
Right, exactly. I needed to be able to live past this
And I think that's the important part.
and be there for my son and, my mom. And
I think that's the important thing to people out there that are listening, that are struggling. They say you're as sick as your secrets, and it's one of those cliches that's so true, Andrew. It's like, the more secrets you keep, the harder it is to get help.
But it's also very textbook in trauma and sexual abuse to vilify the so-called victim and brush that person under the carpet in order to protect.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
it's even more complex than that. Often the victim feels guilty and responsible because they didn't realize that they were actually being victimized.
Exactly.
And a lot of people that even get raped at a young age think they enjoy it because it's sex, and they don't realize that it's wrong. And then they feel such guilt that they enjoyed it, and they thought that it was
feel
normal.
complicit.
Right, they feel complicit.
Yeah.
And then that feeling makes them feel so guilty that they can't even think of getting help or admitting to what happened because they felt like they somehow created the problem.
Exactly, and what Judah was saying, be careful who.
Be careful who you reveal your secrets
who you
to,
reveal
yes.
yourself to.
Yeah, just don't tell Judah you're good.
I actually had a priest in rehab. This is a true story. I was in upstate New York. I was in rehab, and the priest had wet brain.
Wow.
So, and he was there for 27 years. He thought he was there for a week.
Wow.
And everybody used to do their fifth step with him.
Because he forgot
Because he
immediately.
couldn't remember. And if you just tuned in, by the way, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. Let's go to a quick call before the break.
Hey, we got Judy from Los Angeles.
Let's go to Judy. Welcome
Judy.
to KLEAN Radio.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Judy.
Fine, thank you. I heard you mention rapid eye movement.
Yes.
And I don't know, as a therapy or whatever, but I've heard of that before, and I'm very much interested in it for depression.
Yeah, EMDR was created basically, the concept behind it is that by making the eyes move a certain way, you can relive the trauma and then rewire the brain as to how it thinks about the trauma, therefore providing a way for your mind to sort of let go of the burden of how it affects you. And it's a highly controversial form of therapy. There's some people that swear by it, and there's others that think that it doesn't work at all. So I think a lot of that has to do with, like a lot of therapies, it has to do with how the person that's going through the therapy also responds and accepts it or doesn't accept it.
I responded so beautifully and so quickly to EMDR, and it was so beneficial to me. And there's also a book called Emotional Sobriety, which is a fascinating book that talks about where trauma lives in the limbic system and in the brain and different. So this might be something you want to look at as well. But there are guided EMDR sessions on YouTube and stuff like that. But I would suggest that you go to,
Someone who actually specializes in it.
specialist, yeah.
Yeah, and there's specific, there's specific master's level and PhD level therapists that have gone into specializing in EMDR specifically. So,
Judy, is there anything specific going on? Because you said you are depressed right now?
Yeah, I suffer with depression, but a long time ago when I heard of that, I just did it, I was walking, and I just thought, I'm just going to do this when I sometimes go on my walks or other times. And the reason why I thought about it was that when I'm trying to think of something, I automatically, my eyes go back and forth, and it kind of clears my brain to be able to think.
Yeah, the therapy is
It's not
much
always
more,
the eyes.
Yeah, the therapy.
You can just tap and do it, too.
Yeah, there's...
And I've heard of that, and I wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, where do you find out about this
I just
rapid
think
eye?
it would work on me because I noticed that my brain would do that. Even when
Judy, I really recommend that you look at, actually, if you go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio and post a question, I'll give you a list of therapists you're in Los Angeles, that actually specialize in EMDR.
Yeah,
And
just
in the
don't
meantime-
Google REM.
No.
Because that a whole other list of things will come up.
What I was going to say is Google EMDR to get some background on what it is.
Certainly.
But definitely,
There's a few guys that are and women that are really specialists in it in the LA area. So you're in a good place to get good therapy.
And Judy, just know that a lot of people suffer from this stuff, and there is hope.
there's always hope. While there's still breath, there's hope. That's
Yeah, I do believe that, and I feel I'm very functional for a person depressed. I don't feel like I'm in the depth of despair, but I do know that I suffer with it
just even if you have a general malaise or you just don't feel quite right, you don't have to put up with that. There's ways now that we have to help work on those problems, and you should try and feel better.
What you told me was Facebook.com. I wrote that down.
Facebook.com. Judy, it's Facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. That's
with
clean
a K.
with a K.
Yeah, KLEAN.
And just post that. You could private post us. You could public, and we'll get you all the info you need.
KLEAN Radio.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/KLEAN Radio.
Okay.
Okay, Judy, we got to move on, but thank you for your call.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Thanks for listening.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. That was Judy calling from Los Angeles. We're in the studio tonight with the awesomely talented Andrew Spanswick and
nice. I like
and his
that.
sidekick for the night, Mackenzie Phillips, and a person that was in every single American's living room for 9 years, and she's in the KLEAN Radio studio tonight.
She's in her own living room almost every night.
Yeah,
That's right.
And
home is where the best place on earth.
and good thoughts for Andrew. And the discussion continues at KLEAN Radio.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol?
Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.
Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. We have an awesome show going on tonight.
I should be welcoming you back. You had
I missed
your
my first week.
off.
Yeah, I had a week off, and I missed it. I missed
You missed it?
Yeah, I mean, I missed sitting next to you.
I mean, with the desk in between us.
In between us, yes. And I,
As close as I ever let him get, actually.
I got to speak at a 12-step meeting, and it's, when somebody asks you, and it's. I found out there are a lot of people that are fans of the show, and it was very cool. It's. I had a tough decision. Do I do this or do I speak at a 12-step meeting? And I was taught never turn down a request for the most part. So I went, and it was a great experience. And I miss doing this dearly, but you guys carried on the show awesomely well.
Did you listen to it?
No, my girlfriend did, and I listened to it afterwards, and it was great.
You never listen to your own shows, though.
Yeah, I can't stand this. I can't stand
the sound of your own voice.
I can't stand the sound of my own voice, and that's why I've never really enjoyed dating girls from Brooklyn, because it's just too big of an accent in one room.
Yeah.
So, Mackenzie, tell us more about what's going on with you these days.
That's Mackenzie Phillips.
What's going on with me these days? Well, I love my life so much that it's kind of shocking. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, wow, I feel really good. My brow's not knit. My dogs are happy. I'm happy. I live with my 26-year-old son in the same house for 15 years. I work at Pasadena Recovery Center as a treatment and recovery advocate. I run relapse prevention groups. I do a lot of community outreach. I run some social media, do a little marketing here and there. We have a speaker series once a month at Pasadena Recovery Center. And we just had Ed Storty, who's a fantastic interventionist. I love Ed. And January 15th is Candy Finnegan's going to be speaking at our Pasadena Recovery Center. And we provide lunch, and it's free, and it's fun. And you could go to PasadenaRecoveryCenter.com to RSVP. And
we'll actually post a link too on our Facebook.
that'd be fantastic.
Yes.
I love recovery. I love being in recovery. I'm such a cheerleader. It can get really, annoying for some people. But I'll tell you something. Reconciling the woman I am today with the person I was that got slapped into handcuffs in 2008, having had 10 years of clean and sober before that, I am so blessed. I'm so blessed on a daily basis. And during that long and horrifically unsuccessful research period of relapse, I can say with great authority that there is nothing worse than a head full of program and a belly full of speedballs or booze or whatever your particular poison is.
Right.
And it's people think that getting sober and staying sober is such a trial and a tribulation.
What was your trigger? What really made, you were sober for 10 years and then you got triggered obviously somehow. What do you think brought it on?
Well, I think it was the death of my father.
Yeah.
And the inability to deal with just life as it is, things as they are, what is. And I had sort of backed away from the program, and also...
And your dad being, by the way, John Phillips.
Papa John from the Mamas and Papas. And also, look, let's talk a little bit about people who go out on pain medication.
Yeah,
right.
Because I thought it would be a great idea to go get boobs, right? So I went and I got boobs. I had to have them taken out because it didn't go well. But I had to, and I was 10 years
Right.
clean and sober.
Right.
And then I had a huge bottle of Norco.
Wow.
In my house, and benzodiazepines. And at the same time, my world was changing and crashing, the advent of the death of my father. And you put all of these things into a big witch's brew type bowl and mix them up, and you've got an incredible recipe for relapse if you're not working the program.
Also,
and,
getting breast implants has a lot with body dysmorphic disorder and your sense of identity and self. So you're actually reopening all that and playing with that.
Absolutely.
He's not
All
just
those
giving;
issues.
he's very smart, Andrew.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
And so the lesson is, Mackenzie, is don't get boobs.
Don't get
And
boobs.
Be happy with
Be happy with what
If
God
you can't
gave
be
you.
with the boobs you love, then
Love the
I don't
boobs
know.
you're with.
Yeah. And with that, if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio
boob
tonight
radio.
with Mackenzie Phillips. And give us a call at 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222.
That is a really good phone number, by the way.
It is. It's great. It's not ours.
Too bad it's owned by
KBC. But let's go to
got a
loyal
call
listener.
from Heather.
Let's
in
go to
Vermont.
Heather.
Yeah, let's take that call. Hey, Heather, how you doing? Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Welcome back, Heather.
Thank you. Well, before I get into how I'm doing, Mac, I just wanted to say, I watched One Day at all the time when I was a kid, and I also watched you on Celebrity Rehab, and about a year ago I listened to your book on audio tape, and I just wanted to, commend you for your journey and for your courage and your honesty.
Thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate that. It actually means a lot to me.
Heather's actually been going through the ringer for a while. Heather's sober, right, about 15 years or a little more. She is going through a separation with her husband, but she's taking care of herself now, right, Heather?
Yeah, it's just, when things are difficult and the other shoe falls off the foot or whatever the saying is that I haven't been doing well since Thursday because I knew that this weekend I got the paperwork for the divorce for me to mail to my husband. But Thursday night I found out that my a former boyfriend who was my first love died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I mean, cognitively, I knew he was going to die because it was a really long and horrible death process because he had Lou Gehrig's disease. But
You know what, Heather? I hate to just kind of jump in, but divorce is a lot like death, but in some ways it's even stranger because the person's still alive, but the feelings of grief are very much the same. So when you're getting divorced, it's like that person in that relationship and all that stuff that came before that dies. And it goes away. And so for an older boyfriend to die as well, it probably just set off all the feelings that you were really just trying to stuff and cope with while you're dealing with the divorce.
Yeah, I mean, as a a positive thing, I did go to a women's AA meeting, and I shared at the meeting, and I ended up crying, and then I went to the bathroom and was sobbing, and a woman I didn't know, came up and just, held me while I sobbed for a while, so...
But, Heather, this is a great opportunity for you really to think about, things that are important. And also that even when you get divorced, there's still some, you married someone that you loved at least at one point, I hope, right? And, there's some things that you're going to grieve and lose in that divorce. But, they're still there. Those memories can still be positive. And you shouldn't think of it as losing everything. And a lot of people, when they get divorced, they just throw out that whole period in history of their life, that whole time that they were married. And I think it's important to remember that, there was times that it wasn't all bad. And that's also why people get back together for the wrong reasons, because they think
That euphoric recall.
they think they'll go back to the good part, and they don't realize that they're stuck with the bad part.
It's also why people relapse. Euphoric recall.
Right,
So Heather, what are we going to do today? Okay, Sunday night, tomorrow's Monday, it's the start of a new week. Let's come up with a good strategy for the next couple of days. You've been going to the gym, right?
Yep, and I did go to the gym on Friday and Saturday, and because the hot tub and the swimming pool was just really good for me. And I went to the movies, and I went to Walmart, and I treated myself to a haircut.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
I heard
it shows
Walmart gives great
the high
ones.
quality of the haircuts I have.
Yeah, well, listen, for everybody out there, Heather will be single soon, and she's very low maintenance in
I'm
Vermont.
running out of hair, so I didn't get the pleasure of a haircut.
But Heather, here's the thing. You don't give yourself enough credit, and this is where you got to start doing it. So you had bad news on Thursday. A couple months ago when you called, you didn't go to the gym, even a couple weeks ago, you didn't go to the gym for a whole week. Mm-hmm. And since Thursday, you've gone to the gym, you got your hair done, you did all these positive things for yourself, Heather. You have to give...
And also, even just having something terrible happen with the boyfriend dying, the ex-boyfriend dying, and then getting through it.
Yeah, give yourself credit, Heather.
That's true. It's very hard to see sometimes when you're doing the right thing because you're sad.
Right.
It's very hard to actually
You're
notice.
walking through it like a human and a woman, Heather. And that's the message. When I look at people in sobriety, Heather, you've never called up screaming. You've never called up fighting. You've always called up in pain and wanting to know what to do, but you've walked through it like an amazing woman, Heather.
Yeah, and talking about positive things. Another thing is I got a new cell phone, and so I called everybody that I had gotten numbers from and told them at the meeting I was going to, like, okay, if you've given me your number in the past, I'm going to call you just so you have my new cell phone number.
Right.
You know,
See, you're doing the deal. You're doing the deal.
Yeah. That's great. Heather, really, it's amazing what you're going through. It's amazing. Mackenzie, she loves that, she's smiling from ear to ear that you listen to her book on audio CD.
Yeah.
And I gotta get that.
Not
it's an
not the
incredible
tape
book.
though, Judah, because that doesn't exist
incredible
anymore.
story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I am also a trauma survivor, and I didn't face that stuff until I had the first 5 years of my recovery. But I've had a number of friends who have done EMDR and sworn by it. But just getting support and going to trauma support groups and things like that.
Well, Heather,
I highly recommend.
I think that just like Mackenzie's been an inspiration to people, you're being an inspiration as well by calling our show repeatedly.
Yeah,
and people
I love it,
follow what
Heather.
you're doing.
And thank you again. And we will talk
Thanks.
to you next week or whenever you want.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. And that was Heather from Vermont. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with the beautifully talented Andrew Spanswick and the guest,
she's okay.
Mackenzie Phillips, from some popular show called One Day at a Time. That
irony.
You know
The
what?
irony of
That
that,
is
right?
hysterical, by the way. But you know what? It's one of those theme songs. They used to have theme songs in TV. I was watching Hulu and I'm watching The Fall Guy, right? And what a great theme song.
theme song.
Lee Majors singing The Unknown Stuntman. But it was One Day at a time. I don't want to sing it.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is that song has haunted me for 30 years.
But
Thanks for bringing it up, Judah.
what a gift. What a gift. And I'm sure you didn't always look at it as a gift that you touched a lot of people. I was, growing up in the 80s, I grew up a little later, but, TV was my salvation because I was an alcoholic. I was an isolator. I was depressed at such a young age. And I would watch TV shows and live vicariously. I'm sure there's so many people out there that you've helped.
Thank you. I hope so.
And with that, let's go to a couple calls. We have them lined up. Let's go to
Joe in Los Angeles.
Let's go to Joe in Los Angeles. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Joe.
Hey, Joe, what's up?
Well, thank you, guys. I like to listen to you guys whenever I'm in the car and at this particular time. I've been in recovery since '96.
Congrats.
And, from alcohol and drugs. But I do find myself going through other addictions of the sexual nature.
Yes.
I've been to some meetings for that, and that's a tough one. My wife had thought that I should go there, and I was not quite convinced. And I told her, look, I have to be the one that convinces myself of this. But as far as that goes, what is your guys' opinion on that type of subject?
Look, there's addictions to chemicals, most of which are toxic, and like alcohol and heroin and cocaine and marijuana. And then there's process addictions where people do things like gambling, sex,
shopping.
Right. But all of them have an underlying similar function in that they're compulsive disorders. So you have this compulsive drive to do the behavior to get a reward. In a little more complex sense, that's driven by your dopamine system in your brain, which is the reward system in your brain. So if you're not drinking, if drinking was your choice of getting that high of relieving yourself of pain and covering up pain by releasing dopamines or covering up other issues, you'll end up, if you don't really deal with the issues, you'll end up pushing it to something else. You'll go from alcohol to cocaine, or you'll go from alcohol to sex. Sex is more powerful than most drugs.
Joe, why don't you tell us though what's going on, so we're not guessing?
As far as
your sex, what might constitute an addiction or not?
Well, I kind of was answering my own questions while listening to you guys, but I find myself, and I know alcohol and addiction and drug addiction is definitely a mental thing, and I find myself with the obsessive thoughts of acting out sexually.
But a lot of that, is escapism too, and a lot of it is just wanting to find an easy way to avoid whatever feeling that you don't understand that you're having. So, or you understand and you just don't want to feel it. So, if you're finding yourself doing something that you're then going to feel guilty about, or that somebody's probably going to criticize as a behavior, or you have an instinctual sort of feeling that it's not right, you should really be thinking about what's going on that's driving you to have that impulsive and compulsive sort of behavioral reaction, and start really trying to figure out what's underlying all that. Because there's some things going on, Joe, and obviously I don't know you well enough, but I'm sure if we were to sit down for quite a while, at some point we'd figure out what was really going on, and you could really start looking at that. And I encourage you to get into some sort of therapy to really work on those.
Which is very important,
issues.
Joe, because a lot, I'm sober, 15 years, Mackenzie's sober. And one of my favorite things in the book that it says, Joe, is that this might not be enough. You might need to seek outside help. And the reason they bring that up is because a lot of us have other issues afterwards. And I got to tell you, Joe, it was my salvation going to seek outside help, because I couldn't understand what was wrong. I'm 10 years sober, and just certain things weren't mixing 100% well. And I was so scared to go to psychiatrist, to therapist. But, Joe, it saved my life.
Well, that's a great thing. And I must say, the irony of it is I know things are all right with me. I have a good marriage. I have a great kid. My father is one who couldn't get it, and he had died of this disease. So, I understand that, and things are going so well that, I know as an addict, I have to have a monkey wrench to throw into everything.
You hear people say that a lot, Joe. And it's not, it's like, it's sometimes some of these things, it's not you dropping a monkey wrench, Andrew.
But also a lot of people that have been addict or raised by addicts don't know how to handle success
or enjoy it,
happiness, or don't know how to be quote unquote normal, which I don't believe in. But, they don't know how to just exist and be okay with themselves. And I think that, and have things be okay, they have to figure out a way to create trauma or some sort of mess so that they can feel troubled, so that
they know how to deal with trauma.
That feeling of troubledness, of trauma, is normal to someone
it's comfortable.
That way.
Chaos
it's actually
is comfortable.
more comfortable.
Absolutely.
That's like why people cut themselves and do other things. People that don't understand that kind of pain don't understand why people want to feel that kind of pain, and they think it's just crazy behavior. It is unfortunately mental illness, but mental illness is also stigmatized, and these behaviors are actually coping mechanisms in which ways that people actually hurt themselves to actually feel normal. And there's better ways to get to a space where you actually feel right, not normal.
Joe, I'll tell you what, though. If this helps, go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. Private message me if you'd like, and we could refer you to some really good people if you want to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist or anything like that, or some really good SLA meetings if that's what you want to.
Well, you guys have been very helpful, and I do listen to you guys when I can. Miss Phillips, definitely a pleasure to speak with you. I mean, I'm almost 45. I grew up in that area watching you on television as well.
Say the show.
And
say the show.
One day at a time.
Yeah. You can sing it too.
Exactly. Well, I could, but I don't think I would do it over the airwaves.
Okay.
Everybody listening. But, and I watched the Celebrity Rehab, and just, it was good because I saw, obviously, so many people from that show die. And it's nice to see success stories as well.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joe. And keep us in the loop. And if you just tuned, thank you, Joe. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with one of the most beautiful, serene people I've ever met, Andrew Spanswick, and our sidekick for the night. She was in a show.
She was in a show?
How many people, let me ask you a question. How many people on average
She has a kid?
on your biggest season watched One Day at a Time?
You know what? It's so different now because there's so many more channels.
Right.
But
I mean, then it was like 45 million people a week.
Yeah, we get like a 24 share.
Yeah, there's like 24 million people watching.
We were in the top 10 for our entire 9-year run.
And this is when America only had 60 million people. So, I mean, half of America was watching One Day at a Time.
But anyway.
It wasn't quite that long ago.
And I love what you're doing now is you're giving back. And one of the questions somebody asked was on Facebook when somebody said, "Do you sponsor?" And it was something I actually asked you before the show. And what's your answer?
I do sponsor, and I find that it's hard for me to sponsor people who aren't surrendered.
Right.
because I get frustrated, you know? And then I have to pause because I get agitated because we learn to pause when agitated. But I do sponsor people. And
do you think your celebrity gets in the way of that?
yes, I do. So quite often I will not sponsor someone because I've been in situations where I found out that the person wanted me to sponsor them to find out who my agent was, or
Wow.
you know,
How LA?
yeah, it's very LA. You know, it works. You know, you're holding hands at the end. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Who's your manager?
Yeah, right.
You know, can I have your autograph?
Yeah.
You know, and I try to keep that very, very separate because I walk into a 12-step meeting and I am just another drunk.
Right.
You know, I don't. I have commitments. I mean, I'm like the chip girl. You know,
Yeah, you're doing the deal.
I set up chairs. You know, I do the deal. And it's very important for me not to feel special. I just want to be a GVD, the garden variety drunk, right?
No, I think you know it is. It's because it's you're sharing this message, and it's cool that you do that stuff because I think that even helps people. You're just a regular drunk, you know, cleaning the rooms, doing all that stuff, and the other stuff is you're lucky to get to do it.
Really lucky.
But it's not.
You know what?
It's not
Let's
you.
jump into a call because we've had Amy on hold for well over 10 minutes. I think she's
At least.
And that's commitment,
Yes.
right?
Let's go to Amy in Vancouver. Welcome back to KLEAN Radio, Amy.
Hi there. I used to be a watcher of
what?
Day at a Time.
Of what?
So that dates me.
What did you watch?
What is it? The One Day at a Time.
You got it. Tell her what she won, Bob.
The lovely Carol Merrill.
That dates me. I wanted to call in and encourage Heather.
No, Chrissy.
From West Coast to East Coast. I've been there where I've been rock bottom in my divorce. I've been rock bottom with the abuse, and I've been rock bottom with a lot of things in my life with alcohol because of the coping through it. And in a support group that I went to for a solid year, which was based on domestic violence, the counselor that taught the group gave me a quote, and it was actually to the group, but I asked her to copy it for me, and I thought it might help Heather because it helped me, and it I magnetize it to my refrigerator and I look at it every day. But it says, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it.
All right.
Yeah, because it's not about what happens in your life. It's your attitude towards what happens in your life.
Which is what you started saying the show with. You're not a victim anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
And that was it was an amazing thing I had heard one time, and I almost feel uncomfortable for sharing about it because it was a woman that had been raped. Mm-hmm. And she shared, because in 12 steps they talk about your part. Mm-hmm. In the 4th step, what's your part? And she said, obviously I had nothing to do with my part in getting raped.
Right.
But she said her part was that for 20 years she was walking around as a victim to it. Mm-hmm. And when she shared that, it really saved my life because growing up in whatever past I had.
She just had a lot of saved lives tonight. It's like
yes, you know what it is. You know what it is. It's you hear things sometimes.
He's like the cat with 9 saved lives.
Yes, that is. But those are the things sometimes that you hear them and and it just really
it re-energizes you.
Yeah.
It refocuses a person onto what's really important when you hear these kinds of things.
Right, because you're no longer a victim.
Right.
And for years I was a victim to certain things, and my part was that I walked around like that, and I think that's
I could be a victim to things that had absolutely nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Some horrible, tragedy happens somewhere and I see it on television.
After 9/11, right? Andrew, what's that syndrome?
Well, it is traumatic. I mean, there is secondary trauma. What were you saying, Amy? You were trying to say something?
Well, what I was going to say was I had to actually, in my trauma, I had to actually call my friends and build kind of a verbal support group for me on my phone when I was in so much of a hornet's nest in my mind with being rock bottom, with divorce and the abuse and everything, that I actually had to cry out to my friends to say, just call me and leave me a message to encourage me. Even if I don't have the ability to even process having a conversation with you, just please call me and leave me a message and just say, Amy, you're doing great. Get your mama bear claws out. Don't be the victim anymore. and stand up, and fight.
Amy, by the way, you sound great. We're running out of time. Are you on Facebook, Amy?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so go to cleanradio.com. Go to facebook.com/Clean Radio. Heather's actually a fan of the show, and on Clean Radio, and I'm sure you could find her.
And join our Facebook.
Yeah, and join our Facebook page, and you and Heather could start a West Coast, East Coast yo-yo helping each other type of thing.
I have to say that I'm a little worried about Vancouver, Washington, Mama Bear Claws.
Hey, listen, it is.
I think that Heather might have a little bit more to her than we know. Or
As they say, what happens in Vancouver, Washington, yes,
gets eaten in Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah, that's.
All right, Amy. Have a good night.
Amy,
all right?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. And that was Amy. And if you just tuned in, we're running out of time. You're listening to Clean Radio. And if you're going through anything right now, I beg of you to give us a call. The number is 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. This show takes so many people to put on. Steve, did you have any questions for Mackenzie tonight? No, you was telling me before you were in love with her. So you loved her show, and Steve over there, he's had a crush on you since he was 12, and he's 32 now. And I want to thank Rand. Rand had your toaster or your lunchbox.
Rand.
You had
a poster.
You had the lunchbox?
We didn't have lunchboxes.
No lunchboxes?
Why not?
I never saw them.
Do you have like a ton of memorabilia from the show?
I do.
Like,
I have
really?
my script book, and I have photographs, and
If you ever want to go to the TV show Pawn Stars and see how much it's worth, I'll go with you anytime.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with that show.
I'm obsessed with it too.
No.
I've been begging Andrew.
Have you ever watched Hardcore Pawn?
Yes, that's very depressing.
I love them.
It is. I love it too, but it's very
I can't
depressing.
listen to this. This is going to have to be for the green room after the show.
And
guys.
so I just want to thank you again for coming down. You're always welcome on the show.
I love it. Ask me back anytime. You guys are
Mackenzie,
great.
plug what you got going on.
Yeah.
You got a movie coming out, right?
I got a couple movies coming out. I've got one called North Boulevard.
Right.
And the other one is with Matthew Gray Gubler, Kat Dennings, and John Waters.
Oh, wow.
And it's just gotten a new name that I can't remember. Richard Bates Jr., if you're listening,
But
call us.
Kat Dennings is from The New Girl, right?
No,
or
Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls.
And
I knew
Matthew
Girl was
Gray
in the title.
Gubler is on Criminal Minds.
Oh, cool.
I got all kinds of stuff going on. Is there something else there that I didn't say?
So Suburban Gothic was...
That's it. Suburban Gothic. That's the new title.
So you have a lot of stuff going on, and I love that you're in the sober world helping people, and you're doing it in the acting world. So you got to have you got to have your cake and eat it too.
It's so beautiful. I love working in treatment and recovery.
I got a question though.
Just love
What
it.
episode of The Love Boat were you on?
Okay, I was on 2 episodes of The Love Boat.
Right.
One, I played Alan Ludden's daughter.
Right.
And he had a business partner played by Eric Estrada, and he set me up with Eric Estrada, and I had to kiss Eric Estrada.
Wow.
I mean, I got to kiss Eric Estrada.
Did you get over
You had to kiss her.
But the best one ever,
Okay.
Love Boat episode, I played Gopher's old college roommate,
Yeah, right.
and I came back as Rachel, Ray's sister, the college roommate, Ray.
Not Rachel Ray, but yes.
But so I'm dancing with Gopher, and I said, Gopher, I'm not Rachel, I'm Ray.
Wow.
So I played a transgender
Wow.
in the
and
70s
that's
on the Love
groundbreaking.
Boat.
Okay, and that's Clean Radio.
I can't believe it.
The
We're
discussion
running out of
continues at
time.
I hear the
cleanradio.com.
theme song in the background.
Thank you,
Just when
Mackenzie.
it's getting good.
Thank you, Mackenzie Phillips. One day at a
Back
time.
Very soon. Thank you, Mackenzie. I appreciate it.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.